2016. I still don't have a car, and I'm taking a bit of an extended break from filming. I'm spending my time playing one of the hottest games of that year with a friend I met through that game, Pokemon Go. And the song fueling that summer the hardest was the lead single off of this, the third outing from French electronic duo Justice, Woman. The song is Safe and Sound, and I waited and waited, hoping that by the time the summer had ended, they would have dropped one of the hardest summer albums of the year. Instead, they closed the summer out with a little more of a traditional electronic-driven jam, the still fantastic Randy. Another track that blends the throwback 70s sound they were wanting to embrace, but really integrates it well with a different aspect of their electronic sound. I love the lead vocals on that song, and I think that the synth production is just choice. It really sounds like that end of the summer bop that you play on those sunset nights while you're circling this spot you found nearby that has 3 gyms that you and your friend just kind of hang out around. And still I waited through October when they dropped a third single that was also just incredible in Alakazam, a song that still gets regular rotation out of me to this fucking day outside of the album setting.
All right, I'm just a man on the town.
Butt full, heart's empty, can't lose.
Fighting a badass dragon right now.
I love the groove of this song. I love that synth line that comes in before the rest of the synths sort of get added to the atmosphere. The lead melody on here is just grand as hell in the best way possible. The bass play on here is really fun. It's got this dazzling feel that evokes the magic that Alakazam channels, and it's easily one of my favorite Justice songs. It wasn't until a month later that we finally got what I would argue would have been the biggest summer record in certain circles, with Woman, a record that sees Justice sort of similarly to a different French electronic duo, embracing a bit of a throwback, more disco-driven energy in some pockets. With that being said, though, I don't think Justice made, like, their own random access memories. They definitely take that similar sort of throwback idea and run with it in their own way that I think rules. This record has a really consistent hit ratio of tracks that I think excel. Outside of the singles, I think that Pleasure is a fantastic hook-driven song that could have been a single in a completely different lane for Justice. I think that the bass play on there is also really fun. The chorus work really evokes that 70s vibe in a really good way. I'm a sucker for a good, dense, synthetic track, and I think that the evolving density across chorus has a lot of moments that just really strike well with the various synths whenever they're added. They just fit the pocket in the best way possible. I love the sort of harpsichord play on heavy metal. It very much evokes Castlevania in the best way possible. And honestly, I'm amazed that this was not the single that they dropped in October, and that Alakazam was. Some of the more funkier moments, like the last single, Fire, or jumping it back to Pleasure, also sort of remind me of more twerp energy with the synth funk twist that those tracks have, and you guys know I'm all about that shit, and that stuff continues to be stuff that I come back for on this record. Other slower paced moments like Stop, which funnels that sort of 70s choir work into a bit more of Justice's world gracefully, and the final song, Close Call, closes the album out magnificently. Ironically enough, I think that this album's biggest fault that I've seen as the years have gone on is sort of cut from a similar cloth that this album's release cycle was handled in. This album has a lot of really good songs. There's just some pockets where I feel like for an electronic duo, the pacing is just not as good, especially given how fucking seamlessly I think their debut sounds. Justice's Cross is one of my favorite electronic albums of all time, and I think that Woman does a really good job at least showcasing that they are still just banger writers at their core. Sure, I think that it opens and closes in the perfect way. I think Safe and Sound kicking this off just kind of made sense, especially given how long this album took to come out. And like I said, Close Call, fucking great closer. But I think that it's weird that they go from Safe and Sound into Pleasure, and that stop comes at the middle point in the record. A lot of the sort of build throughout that track has this sense of finality to it that just feels kind of weird. Now you may be wondering, since I'm talking so much about the sequencing, why didn't I just make a whole redacted out of this? And then I could probably do that someday, but really I just wanted to celebrate what makes this album so damn good, because honestly, while I have some beef with the sequencing, it's also a record that upon release kind of got slept on, in my opinion. And it got some decent praise and some meddling reception in some corners of the internet, and I can understand that, especially given some of the big gripes I do have with the sequencing. But the hit ratio on here is still just so damn good. While I'm a big believer in sometimes records can just come out whenever and have them excel because of the artist in question, some albums really need a good backdrop for release, and I feel like, especially given how underwhelming their sophomore outing was, they should have dropped this in the summer to create a soundtrack for The Sunshine. Album still rips, in my opinion. I'd probably give it like a 7 now, just with some of the problems I have with the sequencing, and was definitely much more of a bounce back, in my opinion, for the group that I think that they've followed up in some really interesting ways, but not anything that's been quite the standalone bop fest that was this project. And I figured if I was doing a look back on a record that I would say is a classic summer album, I'd take a look at a more modern summer album that I still get some hefty rotation out of. Either way, have you ever listened to this record? Do you look upon it fondly? Do you not? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you do like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more, consider subscribing. I drop 2 to 4 vids a week depending on what I've got going on. Thank you again so very much for watching. I have been Viral Rack. You guys have a good day's lives and situations, and I'll see you another day.